Thank you very much. Nice to have a large crowd in. Am I audible at the back? Can you hear me all right? Good, lovely. Right, so you should have on your chair a little black box. This is the magic black box for something. And there's a book inside it, and various cards, and a little pen. And you can read ahead if you want, it really doesn't matter. But what I've done today is set myself the challenge of how to win a pitch just with diagrams. Because the gist of it is that most pitches are far too long and incredibly boring. And I've been on both sides of the fence. I've worked at agencies and I've made them and written them, but I've also sat with clients being bored to death and sometimes being taken in to agencies to find that their average pitch length is 120 charts or some such other tedium that we simply cannot handle. So, in the light of getting this sorted out, I've decided to take the diagrams book, which is me gathering together what I regard to be 50 of the best diagrams in the world, which you should be able to use generally in life to sort stuff out anyway, and then applying that in rapid-fire style to how to pitch. So I've plucked out 12 diagrams from the book that I think could help you to pitch without really writing many words, which of course all you designers will really appreciate. Right, so I'm going to go through 4 basic areas, okay? First, I'm going to grab 2 or 3 diagrams to work out which prospects should you be going for. Then we're going to get into getting your priorities right. Then we're going to talk about great storytelling. And then I'm going to do some relationship lessons at the end. 2 minutes a chart maximum, I reckon. So first of all, which prospects? Now, your natural reaction is to go for about 1,000 a year and completely waste your time. I think it's completely the other way round. So, the new business pyramid here makes it very, very clear. At the bottom, you write all the people who will never understand what on earth you do for a living and never give you any business, and ignore them completely all year and forever. In the middle, you analyse the people who might do, and at the top, you know people who understand what our offer is, and they're the people who are going to give you your business. So it's terribly simple. All you have to do is concentrate on relevance, not volume. And really, all you have to do is populate that chart with names and numbers. And that's terribly easy to do. So at the top, it will probably say 6 or 15 or something. You just concentrate on them all year. And you don't waste time on the people who won't get it, because it's a complete waste of your time. 3 proper wins a year will do. It'll be a jolly nice year if you get that. So that's how that diagram sorts out your new business strategy in somewhere under 30 seconds. Okay. Next one, the business satisfaction triangle. Okay. This is, do we want to work with these people or not? Very, very simple. We've got money at the top, subject matter bottom corner, and fun on the other. It's terribly, terribly simple. These are 3 reasons to work with a client. If you can tick all 3 of those, you're right on the money. Go for it. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I think that's a Meatloaf song, but whatever. I'm not going to sing it. Only 1 is highly dubious. If you can only tick 1 of those, there's a strong case for not even pursuing the business, let alone pitching and getting into all that cost. And obviously, if none of those 3 are tickable with regard to your satisfaction, then you have to have the strength to decline the business. If you don't, everything that follows thereafter is entirely your fault. This is the if triangle, and this is the essence of any negotiation. There's only 3 things that you will ever be discussing in your entire business life. Sounds a bit sad, but it's actually true. Time, cost, and some form of quality component. Every client wants everything ultra fast, as cheap as possible, and there's no client in town who will tell you that they're happy with a load of shit. Okay? Fact of the matter is, once they put pressure on the other 2 variables, they often get a load of shit. So, when you're conducting a negotiation, the reason it's called the if triangle is that if you begin every sentence with the word if, it forces you to attach a condition to whatever the next component is. So, for example, if you require it by Tuesday suddenly, we will need X. If you need it for 2p, we require 1 month. If you need that, we need X, and so on, in a charming trading way, rather than just saying, oh yes, okay, we'll do that then, brackets, for free. Okay, and that's why it's called the if triangle. So the prospect, as it were, can have any two of those variables, but never all three. So there we go. Now, getting your priorities right. Let's grab a couple for this. First of all, the pitch deadline. The line on the left, you'll notice the one at the top is what you all did at college. You get given your brief on the far left-hand corner at the top. You do absolutely sod all for as long as possible and have a massive panic at the end. Anyone recognise that? Yes. The psychological trick is that there's now a complete generation of people working in businesses like this who have told everybody that that's okay because they work better under pressure. This is bollocks. So, what sensible people do is get the brief, think hard at the front, then work out the direction. Crucially, if you're in an agency, what you need to do is convene the decision makers in the first 24 hours of receipt of the brief, work out what you're going to do, and then everything can be initiated thereafter and people know what on earth they're supposed to be doing. You set direction, you brief the experts, and of course you course correct if necessary. If you get overwhelming research that says your original 24-hour direction was complete rubbish, then obviously you change it. But you don't make that change at the last minute, tacking like a mad yachtsman. The priority matrix, this can be used for many things. Basic principles are do the worst first. On the other hand, of course, that's if you think you know that something's going to be nasty, whereas in fact, mainly in life, we're always wrong. So when you think something's going to be nasty, it turns out to be nice, and vice versa. If that's true, you might as well just do it now anyway. So, roughly speaking, the bit that's important with regard to new business in the priority matrix is the bottom right-hand corner. It's important, but it's not urgent, brackets, yet. So with regard to the previous chart, you don't leave it to the last minute. You think about it properly and you plan in your thinking time, so you do indeed arrive at a sensible place, having used your brain rather than panicked at the last minute. The bargaining arena. This is a summary of a whole day negotiation skills training course that I run. Let's try it out. This is my way of showing that you can view a negotiation in a diagrammatic form. On the left is me and on the right is you. I have a must limit, and my must limit is where I cannot go below. In a simple financial example, if I've bought something in for £5,000, I cannot give it to you for less than £5,000. But that's not really what I want to achieve. I have an intend level, and my intend level, therefore, might be £7,000. If that's going really, really well, I also have up my sleeve a wish list of other stuff that I really would like to get out of it if it's going well. Now, the other lot have exactly the same, or do they? Because they might not have thought about it at all. But once you've worked that bit out and thought what they might have, you end up with a nice little set of trading variables in the middle, with the crucial understanding, by the way, that the bits that are important to you are not important to them, and vice versa. So you can trade the bits that you're interested in to the bits that they're not interested in, and the other way round, and you end up with a sensible level of understanding. Roughly speaking, get what you want on your terms. Okay, great storytelling. Here's how to use diagrams to get your story sorted out instead of waffling on for 100 charts. The market map. You can win a pitch just with this diagram. It's absolutely extraordinary. All you do is you choose two variables that are relevant to the market. So for example, if it's automotive, you might say this car is fast on the right-hand side or slow on the other. Fast, not fast. Safe, not safe. Choose any. You can try 12, 15, 20, you can try 100 of those until you get the combination right. And when you've got it right, you will have identified what matters in this market. You then plot who the company you're pitching for's competitors are on the map. You then plot the company that you are pitching for, And then, and this is the rather brilliant bit, you suggest that as soon as they appoint you, strangely all their problems will be solved and everything will arrive to the desired future position, which, by the way, in the Western world should always be in the top right-hand quadrant, because that's the way it works. But if you're in the Middle East, you may find it has to go top left. So you've got to watch your direction of travel. What's clever about this chart, in my opinion, is that it tells them all sorts of stuff that they need to tick off just in one chart. Immediately from this, I understand the agency worked out what the bits that matter in the market are in the first place and distilled it down. They've worked out all the competitors and what they stand for. They've worked out exactly where we are now, and they've worked out where we need to be, and their strategy presumably is now going to tell me how I'm going to get there, so I should appoint them just in one chart. This is one of my favourite, the whittling wedge. Now, agencies get in a terrible pickle. They say, we need to be strong, so we're going to give you one recommendation. Well, how annoying is that? Because when you're the client, you come in and you've got a design agency who says, this is the only logo in the world that'll solve this issue. They then spend 90 minutes trying to defend that. Very dreary indeed. Much better to tell the strategic journey. We started with many options. We considered A, B, C, D. There might be 10 of them. Interestingly, after careful analysis, and for the following reasons, we dismissed the following. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Brilliant thing that happens there, of course, is that weirdly you've dissed the strategies of all the other agencies pitching against you, but not in a rude way and without naming them. You then get down to fewer options, typically 3 or 4, and then you arrive with your recommendation. How nice is that? So, simultaneously with one diagram, you have A, told them you've considered everything, and B, not looked wishy-washy because you've arrived somewhere and it's clear. That's one of my favourites. Here's a cousin, the bow tie. If you take the whittling wedge, on the left, you reduce. The reveal is the ta-da. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of clients get very grumpy indeed when the agency is metaphorically sitting there with a piece of cardboard that they refuse to reveal for 80 minutes. And then when they do, it's not that interesting anyway. You're better off getting this reveal moment out really quite early. And if you wish, you can regard the bow tie as a span of time. What amount of time would I like to use the whittling wedge to reduce down to a suitable moment when I go, ta-da, to which the answer cannot be more than 20 minutes, otherwise we'll all have died of boredom. The reveal then may take 5 minutes, or a little more if you've got some video and other interesting stuff to show, and crucially then, the expand bit is where you get all your ticks from procurement. Because expand is where you say, that's such a brilliant idea, we now can do da-da-da-da-da-da-da with it and arrive everywhere you need to be and tick it all off. So you can plan your entire presentation as a bow tie. Creativity, the central idea satellite system as I call it. You should always be able to describe your creative idea in one circular blob in the middle of a chart that looks a bit like this. Almost everybody's done it. There's a twist. If you're unable to put sub-idea satellites around it, it's probably a crap idea. Okay? Now, you can use these satellites in multiple ways, and I'm sure you've worked out loads of them already, but approximately you could say, right, this idea is so fertile that it works in the following 6 media as well as the obvious one. It works in the on-trade, the off-trade, the this, that, and the other. It works in this continent, this country. It works for this target audience, that target audience, anything you like. This is how you pressure test whether your central idea is indeed an idea or just a bit of wibble that you scratched on the chart that isn't good enough. Relationship lessons. This is where we get into the psychology of what it's going to be like working with these people and is it going to be any good. So the first one I'm pulling out is the one I call the motivational dip. This is one of Carmen's favourites, yeah, okay. So the axis going up to the top left is your level of energy and enthusiasm for the thing. The brand, the project, the people, even just turning up to meetings. And in the early phase, everybody's delirious. There's a honeymoon, there's a new toy to play with and you're kicking that around, really enjoying it, that's marvellous. And if you're the average creative director, that phase will last about 3 minutes. Then there's a horrible motivational dip where you think, I can't be bothered with this crap anymore. They really underperformed in that meetings, they reject that kind of work, I'm not happy with this, I've had to do so many revisions, blah, 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 I've had it. So the line's going down. And this is where it gets interesting, because here, classically, both client and agency enter what we call the learning and understanding phase. It's not a very posh title, but you get the idea. Now, during this phase, you're going to learn and understand how the other lot work and vice versa. And it either works or it doesn't, because it's either going to go upward there to success and an effective relationship, or horrible tailspin and you're splitting up. And it's terribly easy for you working in new business to work out this timeline. Now you can use it retrospectively, looking at former relationships and saying what the hell went on there, or much better when you get good at it, you can try to predict what's going to happen with this thing. And often by trying to predict, you will find that you say, I've just worked out what the end's going to be, I'm not even going to start, we're pulling out. Okay? And you can immediately see that that timeline could be anything from 4 weeks to 4 years. And it isn't beyond the wit of man to map that out and work it out. Okay? You can almost always predict it. This is my final chart, effectively, that I want to put up for you. It's what I call the less than 12-month year. So here's a big psychological temporal trick that goes on everywhere in life, but particularly in business. Everyone talks about a 12-month year. There is no such thing. No one ever works for 12 months in the year. So why bother to plan one? And this is a kind of fiscal juggling that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So you might as well strip out all the holidays and all the times when companies don't really do what they're supposed to be doing. Here's a hypothetical up and down. The middle line is what you might call average performance of company. Then you've got above peaks, not surprisingly, and you've got below where things are underproductive, under-resourced and really not happening at all. In those, I'm suggesting that where it says D, you've got what I call decision windows. And these are the very, very rare moments these days when the right people are in the building, concentrating, actually deciding anything whatsoever. And typically this doesn't happen for more than a few weeks in 52 in any given company, which you know from all the emails that swirl around and the whole business of, I'm sorry, but Jeff isn't back from holiday until July and that's not going to be decided until then. Those are decision windows. You can work out where they're going to be and decide to time your run to suit them. Equally below the line, we have what I call crisis bombs. And these go off from time to time where it all goes horribly pear-shaped. Everyone expresses deep surprise, and yet strangely, if you look back, you find that it actually happened every year for the past 5 years as well. So it wasn't really difficult to predict. So if you map the year that way, you begin to work out that actually you can work out whether your clients, when and whether they're going to make decisions and get things done, and apportion your effort accordingly. Typically, you might say, I'm only going to do business, sorry Carla, but for 6 months of the year, because in these other months, it's not going to get me anywhere anyway. A classic way that I like, by the way, is what I call tertials rather than quarters. And if you cut the year into 3 tertials instead of 4 quarters, you'll immediately conclude that the one in the middle, May, June, July, August, is a complete write-off and nothing's going to happen anyway. So suddenly you've realised it's an 8-month year. Now you can plan your business accordingly. So there you go. Right. So that's enough from me. I'm going to leave you with a little puzzle. There are 9 dots on that. This is called the Gottschalk figurine, and the challenge is with a pen is to join all the dots with 4 strokes without the pen leaving the paper. Does anyone know how to solve it? Hey, well done. I won't get you to do it. 2. We've got 2 people who do. The answer's in the book anyway, but I'm going to show you for fun, and that's how you do it. If you like, the moral of the story, particularly with solution number 1, is that if you view the 9 dots as a box, you cannot solve the problem. And this is the origin of the phrase, think outside the box, which of course nobody knows. There you go. So, I'm done, I think. Yeah, that's me. If anybody wants me to train them, talk to them, generally harangue them about how you can use diagrams, please do call me. I think, do we do a few questions now?
Just two questions, maybe for the audience, if anyone's got anything specific now. If not, do you want a panel?
Go for it. Yeah.
Have you had an opportunity to actually use these diagrams and successfully win pitches to date?
Yes. I mean, I've been working on my own for 13 years, so what these are aggregated things that I've picked up over that plus my career, so that's 30 years worth of using them in various combinations. And I use them a lot in training. So yes, but I don't go out and pitch personally with diagrams anymore.
So for a 120-page deck, using these techniques, what do you think you get that down to?
Well, we could do a whole night on what's wrong with decks and PowerPoints. Overall points include most presentations aren't. What they are is some horrible car crash of a document that's become a presentation that's a halfway house. So the first main point is you should have charts, that's one thing, and you have a document, which is a completely different thing, written in proper prose. So that's two main things. Another thing people think is that what they don't understand is that brevity equals intelligence. So the shorter your point, the better thought through it is and the more compulsive it is. However, people who are underconfident add as much material as they can. And particularly in the context of one PowerPoint chart, what they fail to realise is that their strongest point, sometimes singular, but usually no more than 3, is always at the top. And all the other crap they write that goes down to the bottom simply arms the viewer of the chart with reasons to undermine their argument. So they're better off not including that material at all. And there's more and more and more. Yeah. Go for it.
Do you think we should have a dedicated 2-week holiday for the whole industry so we could get a more productive
Which in
12 months minus 2 weeks? In the old days, you used to have Leicester fortnight, so all the lace makers used to go on holiday at the same time.
Yeah.
Should we not do that for our industry?
Which industry is your industry? As in new business or?
I'm an intermediary, but
so
the advertising, this communications industry.
Yeah, so the answer is broadly yes.
Yeah.
All you have to do is see when the trade titles aren't publishing and go away. And you'll probably find that that's rather more than you thought.
The dip starts in about June for the people with no kids.
Right.
Then you've got July and August for people with kids. Then you've got September for the other lot who didn't want to go in June who've got no kids. So you've got 4 months when nothing gets done.
Absolutely spot on. And you could almost plot it. I'd love to see one actually, but a diagram based on out-of-office replies on email. Yeah? And in fact, in one of my books, I do have a thing, and it does roughly explain how in every single month of the year you can justify why nothing's happening. Shall I try it? We'll try it, okay. So in January, no one's quite got back from Christmas. February's got half term, and March is a run up to Easter, and they're still coming back from skiing in April. May's got double bank holidays. June, the schools are broken up. July, August are all on holiday. Europe's shut down. September, they haven't quite come back. October's half term. November, no one can be bothered because they've run out of steam. And December, it's Christmas. They're all in the pub. There we go. I better leave the stage. I'll stick around later anyway.